Let's say China.
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 China. China. China. China.
There are no neighbors, and you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
You go over to China.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Trump statement, tweeting out insult to Angela Merkel. What's he doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host.
Yes. Hello, and welcome. I am James Andrews, and you are listening to So This Happened, the only news you need if you are not facing an indictment by Robert Mueller. It is Thursday, the 2nd of November, 2017, and today, President Empathy, or as his one friend calls him, Donald Trump, once again called for the death penalty in the case of the man who committed the terrorist attack in New York City a couple of days ago. Donald Trump sent out 2 tweets. They read as follows. Would love to send the NYC terrorist to Guantanamo, but statistically that process takes much longer than going through the federal system. There is also something appropriate about keeping him in the home of the horrible crime he committed. Should move fast. Death penalty! And I yell that because he wrote it in all capital letters with a big exclamation mark after it. And the reason I am not a big fan of these tweets is, firstly, I am massively against the death penalty. I don't think any country, state or government has the right to order somebody to die. Now, whether or not that person committed an entirely horrible crime, we cannot sentence them to death because that makes us no better than them. We know that most people that support the death penalty love that Bible verse, an eye for an eye, but as the bumper sticker says, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. And the second reason I find this tweet distasteful, to say the least, is in America, as of right now, there is still a thing called due process, which means that everybody is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Now, I have no doubt that this fella did what he did. He was there at the scene, okay, yeah. But the thing is, with democracy, you have that right to your day in court. And already, Donald Trump is condemning him without a trial. He said, it should move fast. If I had my way, fuck it, I'd just shoot him in the head right now. As he alluded to in his election. I could shoot someone in the head in New York and nobody would care. Maybe that's what he wants to do. Maybe he wants to shoot this fella in the head and he'll be a hero. And so anyway, I find it completely inappropriate that the President of the United States is calling for someone's death. It just seems, well, it seems wrong. And there's one other thing that I found disturbing about this tweet. And it's not directly related to this tweet, but here is a brown man that committed a crime. Donald Trump is calling for his death. Last month in Las Vegas, a white man shot a lot of people. The president did not call for his death. In Charlottesville, when that white man ran over that lady and killed her, the president did not call for the death penalty. And I think it doesn't take a genius to read between the lines here of exactly what Donald Trump is saying. Am I wrong? And that, by the way, was some great 80s music in the background. I liked it. I thought it was really cool. Yeah, I approve. Definitely do. Anyway, moving on now to the Energy Secretary, Rick Perry, whose love for fossil fuels apparently knows no bounds. Today, he was in a press conference and he talked about how good fossil fuels can be. Have a listen to this.
I just got back from Africa and I want to finish up with this because I think I heard a lady say that there are people dying. Let me tell you where people are dying. Is in Africa because of the lack of energy that they have there. And it's going to take fossil fuels to push power out into those villages in Africa, where a young girl told me to my face, one of the reasons that electricity is so important to me is not only because I'm not going to have to try to read by the light of a fire and have those fumes literally killing people, but also from the standpoint of sexual assault. When the lights are on, when you have light, it shines the righteousness, if you will, on those types of acts. So, from the standpoint of how you really affect people's lives, fossil fuels is going to play a role in that. I happen to think it's going to play a positive role.
Okay, where to start on that? Well, let's start with the obviously glaring ridiculousness of that. Fossil fuels can prevent sexual assault. Yes, the Energy Secretary actually did say that, and then went on to say the light shines the righteousness. So he doesn't know if he wants to be a preacher or a politician. It was incredible. Sexual assault is because the lack of fossil fuels. If Hollywood just used more fossil fuels, the Weinstein thing, the Kevin Spacey thing, none of it would have ever happened, because the righteousness of fossil fuels would have shined into the dark place, and sexual assaults would not have happened. Okay, so that's the first stupid part of the statement. The second really stupid part is Rick Perry said he just got back from Africa and that they really need fossil fuels to provide energy. Now, I'm not entirely sure, but I suspect when Rick Perry was in Africa, he looked up at the sky and said, wow, that sun is really hot. It shines all fucking day and it's really hot. If only there was some way we could produce electricity from the sun. Wow, if somebody could invent a device that would capture the energy of the sun and turn it into electricity, we would solve all the problems of Africa. But unfortunately, that doesn't exist. So gasoline is the only way to go. Fossil fuels, that's what they need. Now, if I was a hugely skeptical person, I may point out to you that just today, Donald Trump said that he wants to increase the export of fossil fuels from the United States. But I'm not that skeptical, surely. Rick Perry wasn't referring to that, was he? Profits before people? No, that does not sound right at all. And when you start to think about that, it makes you really angry, doesn't it? Because what Rick Perry is saying there is that we can provide fossil fuels to Africa and we can help them have electricity. Of course, they'll have to buy it. We're not going to give it to them, but hey, at least they'll have electricity and they will be reliant on us for many years to come, because the infrastructure that they'll put in place will require our fossil fuels to run it. It's kind of sick, isn't it, when you think about it that way? And the way he was saying it, he was just so impassioned. He had so much emotion in his voice, and he's just really trying to convince people that the only way African people will not die is if they have fossil fuels. Anyway, enough of that. Now, on to taxes. The Republicans today released their tax plan. And it's long and boring, so what I've done, because I'm a nice chap, is I've broken it down into very simple terms. Who is going to win from this tax plan and who is going to lose? So, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. The first big winner in the Republican tax plan are corporations and businesses. The bill is slashing the corporate tax rate from 35% to 20%. Now that will reduce revenue by almost $1.5 trillion from 2018 to 2027. That is a huge amount of money. where is it going to come from, you may ask? Well, nobody actually seems to know the answer to that question. So, on to our next big winner in the Republican tax plan, and that would be wealthy heirs. You know that Donald and Eric Trump are sitting at home right now going, Daddy, you are truly Scrooge McDuck. If you don't know what that is, Google it. So, under the current law, inheritances over $5.49 million face a 40% tax rate. Now, the new plan would immediately double that amount excluded from taxes to $11.2 million and repeal it completely by 2024. Now, the committee that looks at how much all this stuff costs expects that will reduce the revenue by $172.2 billion through 2027. And you'll remember Donald Trump kept talking about how his tax plan was going to help normal Americans. I'm not sure I know of any normal Americans who are set to inherit $11.2 million. And now, on to the losers. The first group of losers would be wealthy homeowners in Democratic states. Now, I know that sounds like you go, oh yeah, well that's good, that's the top 1%. We want to tax them more. Hold on to your horses for just a moment. The current law permits taxpayers to deduct interest paid on mortgages of up to $1 million. The Republican plan would cap that at $500,000. And it's very possible that you're sitting there right now going, well, my house doesn't cost $500,000. That's a huge amount of money. And granted it is, but it also depends where you live. Most of the mortgages that are over $500,000 are in high-cost coastal states such as California, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Maryland, all of which are Democratic states. Now, for example, in California, more than 16% of home loans exceed $500,000. Now, if you compare that to a state like Iowa, less than 1% of the home loans are over $500,000. So while to some people $500,000 is a massive amount of money, to other people living in these big cities, $500,000 is sort of the average price for a home. And many of those homeowners will also be hit by the $10,000 cap, which is going to be imposed on local property tax deductions. If you look at the tax rate in New York, New Jersey, and California, it is absolutely massive. So when that deduction goes to only $10,000 can be deducted when your taxes cost $20,000, $30,000 a year, it doesn't help you very much. And the other big loser in the Republican plan is going to be Ivy League universities and private colleges. The bill will impose a 1.4% tax on investment income earned by private colleges and universities. And this is where the Republicans are going to get a little bit of their money back. It's expected that that will raise about $3 billion over a decade, which is, of course, a tiny drop in a bucket of the massive amount of debt that these tax plans will incur over that 10-year period. And this bill may have a little bit of a hard time getting through the Congress because it is targeting that class of people which Donald Trump had promised would be better off with the tax cuts, and that is the middle class, particularly if you live in one of those states we talked about, New York, California, New Jersey, etc. Now, the tax proposal is framed as being geared towards the working and the middle classes, but truly its focus is on corporate tax reduction, which is very popular among the Republican Party, but not particularly exciting for the general public, who sort of look at that and say, well, they already make a really lot of money and we're going to give them a bigger break? But I'm not going to get a break? What's going on here, Donnie? And one other thing I just want to mention, which has sort of just been slipped in there, it's the alternative minimum tax. Now, that ensures that wealthy cannot entirely avoid paying taxes by taking advantage of the deductions. This Republican plan will completely repeal that law. So now it will be possible for the extremely wealthy people to avoid paying taxes completely by using deductions. And Donald Trump refers to this plan as a, in quotes, big, beautiful Christmas present for families. What he estimates is that the average family of 4 will save about $1,182 on their tax bill, which is nice. But compared to how much the corporations and the super wealthy are going to save on this tax plan, it's peanuts. And that is also the end of today's show. Thank you very much for joining me. It was a good conversation as always. We can continue it on Twitter or Facebook if you would like. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and write me a nice little review on iTunes. Every time I get a review, it increases our ratings so more people can listen to this fantastic mess of a podcast. Anyway, take care and we'll do it all over again tomorrow. Good night.